Hey guys, this is Jared, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about choke tubes. Um, this is something that is pretty variable in terms of what people can use because there's just so many options out there today. And you do really see a lot of different shooters using a lot of different things, all the way really from a improved cylinder to a heavy full, a super full, whatever you want to call it there, anything in that range. But I picked out 5 choke tubes today that I personally own, and I think they're fairly popular amongst shooters. So I want to talk about them and what they can be used for in different situations. So let's go ahead and talk about the most open choke out there today, the improved cylinder. Well, maybe not the most open choke, but at least the most open that I own. And what I mean by open is the size of the pattern. So if you have a tighter pattern, it's going to be smaller. If you have a more open pattern, it's going to be bigger. And so this is the biggest pattern that I currently own. Um, I don't believe I've ever actually shot with this. Improved cylinder is generally used for skeet shooting more than trap shooting, and since I don't skeet shoot, I've never really had much of a use for it. The only use that trap shooters really get out of the improved cylinder is the first shot of doubles. I know quite a few guys that actually have decided to use this choke for their first shot. Some of them pretty successfully, so it can be good for that. It's not my personal choice to do, but it can be good. I'm not for sure that you're going to get the consistent smoke out of it as if maybe you used a modified or even a light modified, but some people are not as worried about the smoke on the first target. They just want to make sure that they break it, and this is certainly probably the most forgiving choke because of how wide the pattern is. And whenever you're shooting doubles, you shoot the first target really quick. So you want something that's going to be a little bit more forgiving, which is why you see guys when they're shooting doubles, they don't shoot a full choke for their first shot most of the time. So the next choke is the modified. This is a pretty versatile choke that you see shooters using for a few different things. I've heard of guys using it on their second shot of doubles, their first shot of doubles, and their singles. I think it's probably a little bit too open for your second shot of doubles. You're going to want something just a little bit more closed off, a little bit tighter pattern, so that it'll reach out there and consistently break that target hard. And this is probably not going to fit the bill for most people unless you're really a fast double shooter. I mean, if you're shooting that second target really quick, you could probably use it, and it probably wouldn't be too bad for that. For me, I'm not a real quick double shooter, so I definitely, this doesn't work for me. It's not something that I'm going to consistently break the target with. As far as singles goes, quite a few shooters actually have used this. I prefer to use an improved modified. I've just found that for my style it seems to work better. I consistently can break the target with it. This is just a touch too open, but once again I know a Hall of Fame shooter who's been very, very good, and he uses the modified. He switched to it I believe last year, but he shoots a lot quicker than I do in singles, so he can use something that's a little bit more open, whereas maybe my target's going out there a little bit farther, so I have to use something a little bit tighter. So it kind of depends on your style. If you shoot pretty quick, you can probably use a modified for your singles. If you're a slower shooter, shooting it when it peaks or a little bit after, or just maybe slightly beforehand, you're going to want to use something just a little bit tighter than this, more than likely. The next choke tube is the light improved modified. It probably is used quite a bit, especially with the Krieghoff titanium chokes. I use it for my second shot of doubles. I love the consistency that I'm able to break the target with this. It will consistently give me quality breaks over the course of a round and consistently break the target hard for me. I know some guys that have very successfully used it for singles. I've thought about doing that myself, but I like a little bit of a heavier choke in singles just to give me a little bit more consistency in terms of the quality of my breaks. So that's the only reason, but I definitely, cannot knock anybody for using a light improved modified for their singles. It is a great shell for that, and it will consistently break the target for a lot of people. The next choke tube is actually the improved modified, which, like I said, I do use for my singles. Either one of these two, light improved modified, being improved modified, you could use for your second shot of doubles. Really, they're going to be too tight for your first shot though, and they're too loose, too open for handicaps, especially from long yardage. If you're a short yardage guy, you could probably use an improved modified. All the way back to about the 21-yard line. You could probably use this for your handicaps. You may not need the full yet, but if you're long yardage, 25 to 27 yards, you're definitely going to want to use a light full or full, in my opinion. And so that brings us to the next choke, the full. It will break the target consistently all the way back to the 27-yard line. You could probably use a light full for handicaps that far back as well. Once again, it's going to kind of vary on how quick you're shooting. If you're a pretty quick shooter, you could probably get away with shooting the light full. Once again, I'm not a quick shooter, so I use the full, let it get out there a little bit, and it will consistently break the target whenever I do my part. And so that's the 5 choke tubes that I have to talk about. Now I want to talk about a little bit general kind of rules of thumb whenever you are picking your choke tubes. And the first thing is understand, in my experience, no 2 chokes are going to pattern the same. I have 3 full chokes that are Krieghoff titanium. None of them pattern the same. They're all just a little bit different. Now they're pretty close, but they are slightly different. And so you're going to want to go out there and you're going to want to pattern your gun, go out and just take a look at your pattern. Are there any big holes in your pattern that, I've seen guys that have holes that big around, as big as a target. And that's probably not something you're going to want to have in your pattern. So for me, whenever I went and I patterned all 3 of them, I think, it may have been just 2, and I patterned them, this was the best pattern. So it's the one that I keep with me at all times. And I actually do keep all of them, but that's what I love about these Krieghoff titanium cases is this is where I keep my choke tubes that I use frequently is in these 2 cases. I keep everything that I'm going to use from a 16-yard line in one, and then my handicap choke in the other. The second rule of thumb that you're going to want to understand whenever you're picking your choke tube is different brands are going to pattern differently. So a Krieghoff full choke is going to pattern differently than a Briley full choke. I actually have a friend who shoots Brileys, and they are different than the Krieghoffs. So, but Briley is once again a great choke. Several people use those, but so if you have a Krieghoff full and you maybe have a Briley full, go ahead and go out there into the pattern board, see what the differences are, and then go and shoot some, see which one breaks the target more consistently for you. Not only which one breaks it more consistently, but which one are you producing better breaks with? Which one are you getting that dark black smoke that happens whenever you make that perfect shot? That's what I look at whenever I'm choosing my choke is what am I going to break the target harder with. The third and last rule of thumb is understanding your shooting style and what's going to benefit you. So like I said, I'm a little bit of a slower shooter, so I'm going to, and I'm not really slow, but I'm slower. I'm definitely not a fast shooter, so I'm not going to be able to use those open chokes like a lot of guys are. I'm going to use something just slightly tighter, which is why I use a modified on my first shot doubles instead of an improved cylinder, or a full on handicaps instead of a light full. It just seems to work a little bit better for me. So guys, that's all I got for today. I hope this helps. Please subscribe, and thank you all for watching. Have a great day.